na Ajab Premium Maize Meal. Boil water, done.
Because that's about 10% of your total receipts. However, we cannot vouch for the authenticity of that number because, as you have admitted, opening balances were not disclosed. As you have admitted, the aging is incorrect. As you have admitted, you did not disclose things like staff payables. It appears as if the county does not understand what it owes suppliers and staff. So I would have been very happy to congratulate you for having some of the lowest debt to revenue ratios. But we can't get there. We can't get there when your own team is the one that is poking holes into the numbers. So, members, I don't know whether you want us to ask questions on the basis of a note and a figure that the entity itself has discredited. Because you have discredited it. That's why you have said you're going to make adjustments in the next financial year. That's why you have said you need better technologies to age. So even if you ask you questions around aging, already you have admitted that you have done the wrong thing. So, members, from that perspective, how do we prosecute this matter? Because it, you have incorrectly prepared financial statements.
Chair, and therefore, even the people who prepared financial statements before sign-off, they must have delegated their duty. Because if the governor is alluding to not owning up per se the financial statement, then it goes back to the people who've prepared. And I think this is what we call professional negligence that must be handled. So even as we look at the authenticity of the trade payables, the pending bills, so that Kenyans can understand easily, the people who prepared the financial statement committed a serious cardinal sin by not disclosing the true position. Because if we were not very keen, Governor, we would not have noted these discrepancies that we are noting with financial statements. So, Chair, I think even as we look at OAG looks, because I had also asked the Governor about the schedule of the payment of these 558,097,798 in attaching to show that movement or payment. And also the CC has said that they paid all the pending bills. So we can't see here. So it is hard even to know who was paid then, how much was owed. So, Chair, as you ordered the variance that we noted in 278 million plus, and on this one, the movement between not 32 and not 40. So also the people who prepared, Senator Kata is distracting me, there is Gusia here and Gusia there. I don't know whether they are related, the Ngusia, the OAG, and the Ngusia was Sergeant Advance. But the Chair, just in noting in your ruling, you must refer the people who prepared this financial statement to ISPAC. They must be held accountable for making what we call a year one accounting error. Chair, I yield back.
I think to avoid any fear or any perception that there could be mischief on the part of the Senate, I want us to contextualize the problem that Senator Cherargei is describing, again, by looking at how you handled deposits and prepayments. Because once we get that picture, we'll be able to take a view on whether these are financial statements that can be relied on. So, Auditor General.
Chair, before you go there, maybe just one short observation.
Yes.
And this could also be to the auditor and the entity. When we are aging, I'm very uncomfortable with this type of aging. You know, the aging analysis. Trade and other payables under 1 year, then 1 to 2 years, then to 2 to 3 years. I've always been uncomfortable as a student of mathematics. I think maybe moving forward, we might want to just write in terms of months. So when we're aging, we say under 12 months. And then the next row would be maybe 13 months to 24 months. And then the other column would be 25 months maybe to 36 months. Because if you say 1 to 2 years in one row, then 2 to 3 years, how do you then disaggregate the 2 years up here and 2 years down here? You know, so that you can get the figures. I've always had a problem of this type of aging analysis. Maybe we need to change and start using months. Below 12 months, maybe 12 months to 24 months. Then the next one will be 25 months to 36 months. Then maybe over 36 months. Otherwise, this type of stuff, even for mathematics students, this is just wrong. I thought I should make that observation.
Yeah, auditor, you can always guide the entity, and maybe this should come from National Treasury, really, because they're the ones who issue the, the standards and templates, guidance on aging, so that it is factual. And then I take note of what the CEC was saying, that they're aging manually. I don't know what you mean by aging manually, but I believe this is something that even on Excel can do this. Excel can get you a proper aging, unless you are sitting under a tree and distributing the papers in some grids drawn on the. I don't think that would be happening in Nandi. So there's a problem. There's a problem here, as explained by Senator Maruma. National Treasury offer the right guidance, and then Auditor General ensure that they do as required by the National Treasury.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The Public Sector Accounting Standard Board is the one that's prescribed how these entries should be treated in the financial statements. And therefore, I would urge the county to adhere to that template, because it is very clear. Like now, for example, the opening balances, they were directed to have the opening balances as at 1st in July 2024. To pick the balances they closed the year with in June 2024 and carry them as the opening balances for that year. So you can see the template is blank. There is nothing that is put there. So I would urge the county to adhere to the template, and they will be able to minimize all these errors. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, that was an observation on the aging practice. Members, I want us to look at the next matter, which is explained in Note 33, so that we can take a view on the accuracy of these financial statements. And you'll still be free to ask questions that cross-cut from Note 32 to Note 33. Auditor General.
Thank you, Chair. I seek your guidance. Which paragraph, Chair?
The deposits and retentions.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Unsupported fundable deposits and prepayments. The statement of financial position reflects nil balance in respect of refundable deposits and prepayments as disclosed in Note 33 to the financial statements. However, the supporting schedule reflects Kenya shillings 62,967,159 Kenya shillings, resulting in an reconciled variance of Kenya shillings 62,967,159 Kenya shillings. In addition, it was revealed that the county executive operated deposits and retention bank account at the Central Bank of Kenya with nil balance as disclosed in Note 21 to the financial statements. The account was
skip line za kinyozi na salon. Get that fresh look at home na hizi shavers na hair to.
However, the cash book and bank reconciliation statements for the account were not provided for audit verification. In the circumstances, the accuracy, completeness and validity of the nil deposits and retentions balance reported in the financial statements could not be confirmed. Thank you, Chair.
Governor.
Chair, the nil balances arise from the fact that a significant portion of the retention monies was reported as part of the closing balances in the county revenue fund. A prior year adjustment will be undertaken to rectify this position, and appropriate measures have been instituted to ensure that the matter is accurately addressed going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Auditor General.
Thank you, Chair. The issue is still not addressed. The action proposed by management will be confirmed in the audit of the 2025-2026 financial statements. And the misstatement remains as it was as at 30 June 2025. Thank you, Chair.
Governor, we have the report of the County Revenue Fund here. Can you show us where that 62 million is accounted for? Yes, proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Through the Governor, is that this, as the explanation goes, is that we've not been, we've been leaving the retention money as part of the CRF balances, but you will not find it broken
take us
down.
to this is a CRF.
Yes.
This is a CRF, because today's meeting was to look at the three.
Yes.
So you have made reference to the CRF, and you are saying a significant portion of the retention monies was reported as part of the closing balances in the CRF account. This is a CRF report. Demonstrate to us where the 62 million is.
Yes, Chair. I'd wish to just make an explanation through the Governor on that.
Just make reference to the CRF, because the response makes reference to the CRF, so that we are dealing with facts. The Governor said it was reported in the CRF. If we find it in the CRF, well and good. We go to the next question.
Thank you, Chair. It's reported in the CRF, but not as a standalone figure of retentions. We've not separated in the CRF.
Where, in which line, on which page is it included?
So basically, Chair, any money that has gone through the CRF would then mean that it will be translated and paid to suppliers. Any balance that is in the CRF would include the retentions that really will be transmitted.
Okay, what is that global balance that includes the 62? You see, Governor, I think you must be concerned. It appears as if someone wrote for you this response. Of course, you'd rely on your technical people to do this response, which I understand. But they must also write responses that make sense. If you tell us the money was accounted for in the County Revenue Fund, this is a statement of the County Revenue Fund. Just show the Governor, so that the Governor can show us where the 62 million is. Because in the report of the Auditor General, the Auditor General says you retained 62 million, but there was zero in the account, which means the 62 million was stolen. But if there is another explanation, show us.
Okay, Chair. So this has been the trend of activity. Initially, we used to maintain a retention account with the commercial bank. Courtesy of the advice from the Auditor General, it was advised that that has to be maintained with CBK. So we closed the retention account at the commercial bank, paid out all the retention monies. We opened a CBK special purpose account for purposes of retaining and transferring the money. The practice has been, since we opened, what ought to happen is that as we pay the supplier, we then transfer the retention money to the retention account. But we've had a mapping issue. So effectively, for the suppliers that we've been able to retain, we've only paid them 90%. 10% still remains unpaid. As soon as then we're able to fix the mapping, from our balances, what we receive from Exchequer, we'll still have to earmark and put it aside and transfer the whole amount, including the arrears, to that retention account so that we're able to pay.
I'm sorry, Governor. This committee is driven by facts. If there's a fact in the CRF, please point it out. If it's not there, then let's go to note 33. Because I thought we'd get some salvation there, but let's go to note 33. So, Governor, what have you reported as customer deposits, prepayments, and total deposits in your financial statements?
Zero.
Customer deposits?
Is not in the, it's
payments?
Nil.
Other deposits?
Nil.
Total deposits?
Nil.
Yet the Auditor General finds that there's 62 million that ought to be retained for suppliers. So where did the money go to if it was not reported?
Chair, and in addition, retention money
Senator Cherargei.
is contractors' money. It is their money. So if it is not there, it was probably stolen or misappropriated. Because even looking at Governor, in addition to what you have asked, even looking at note number 21 and 21A on detail, even on special purpose account that the CCM Governor is alluding to, does not add up. And I thought OAG, the retention and deposits account should maintain on its own because it is the contractor's money. Can I take retention money and give it to the employee cost as per the law? Then the procedure of reallocation under the PMF Act, Chair, even if the governor was to tell us he reallocated, then there must be legal procedure of that movement. So this 62 million, even if you look at note number 21, 21A, and you look at note number 33, which has reflected zero, this money cannot be traced, Chair. This 62 million, unless whoever prepared, even I've looked at the CRF account, financial statements that the governor is trying to allude to, it is not traceable. Because even if it was in a global figure, it should have been reflected in the CRF document or the statement of the OAG. So, Chair, I think looking at all these, since there is no movement, and you know they say numbers don't lie, other things can lie, it is hard to trace where this retention money of 62 million is. And it points back to the initial disclosure of financial statements.
Okay, I want to hear from the National Treasury because they've given us guidance on this matter in the past.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Probably I begin by indicating how the deposit money is handled. Because at the point of pay, the contractor or the supplier they are entitled to that deposit, probably the way it was defined in the contract. That is, at that point of payment, that is when you feed in the IFMIS the percentage that you pay. And then you pay the contractor, the contractor's account, and the 10% retention you pay to the deposit account. It's then update the deposit rate so that when that contractor will come, count his money for that contractor, you'll be able to pay using the range of kept because it is hitting, we have paid this amount of money for X, Y, Z. But now the way the situation is here, it's like there is no traceability, there is no visibility. I'm even wondering when that contractor will come, how to be able to know what is the percent for that contract sales.
Governor, you have heard the concerns from members of the National Treasury. You have correctly read your statement. There is zero, but the auditor has found this. How do we? What is your view? I know in the 11th Parliament where we do in the Senate. So assuming you are sitting where I'm sitting, what would you make of this?
I think I would probably be exactly in the same position where you are, where it's clear, you are not able to make that clarity. But I think the explanation that has been given by our CEC explained that when we opened the retention account at the central bank, we had a mapping issue. It wasn't, we were not able to operationalize the account at that time. But the fact that we did not operationalize that account at that time did not mean that the retention money was the retention was being retained within the CRF, so that the contractor was being paid is 90%. The 10% retention was, still remained within the county, and when the time comes for the contractor to be paid, pending sorting out the mapping issues in the central bank account, then we just budget for it and the contractor is paid. Of course, it's clear, for every contract, it is the percentage for retention is not. So it can't be chaos because it's known that this was the amount of the contract. He was paid 90%, 10% is outstanding. So that is really the case. And not just unique in this particular case. Even previously, when we had a huge struggle with disbursements chair, sometimes if you are driven by the reason to pay contractors. If you get whatever amount that you have gotten, and this retention might still be needed, even as you put in the account, this retention will be needed in 2, 3 or so months, depending on, the period that will be needed. So if you do not have all the resources at that time, some, cash flow management situation that practically we find ourselves in is you pay the contractor is 90%. As and all the other contractors, sometimes you actually are not able to save enough to directly transfer to the retention account at that particular time. But since you know that this amount will not be needed for the next at least 2 or 3 months, you can still pay the contractors as you wait for the resources to come. And when the resources come, you are able to, set aside that amount. It may not be the right thing to do, but sometimes it's a practical way of dealing with cash flow challenges that we have had. So, Chair, if you then would give us the opportunity to, together with even the schedule for the 270, because I think there are quite a number of outstanding, clarifications that we have to make on this particular audit query and the 2 previous ones. If you then can give us or, direct us to work out on this, we can be able to do it.
No. At this point, Governor, and I think when you explain it for very long, it means that even you are making up words, on the go. Are you satisfied with that explanation, particularly the one on record, the one that you submitted, the one you tabled on record? Is that the explanation that we should take, that we should go back to the County Revenue Fund?
Yes.
But I have shown you the County Revenue Fund statement so that you can show us where the numbers are, and you've not been able to.
On the flip side, Chair, because the schedule of those who are supposed to be paid is there, adding up to 62 million or 9. That schedule is there. But then we are trying to locate the money in the accounts. That money is not there. So then how do you intend to pay if you are to take the governor's explanation? If the suppliers, the contractors come for their deposits, how do you intend to pay? In the current budget, do you have maybe a budget line for this 62 million? Because from the records, it's not there. It's not in the accounts. So how do you intend to pay?
But also let's remember that money is retained and money is already approved by the control of budget.
Right.
Control of budget, is that the case?
Yeah, that is very true.
So you can't come back again with a fresh requisition.
It is in addition what money that is statutorily deducted from the employees and is supposed to be given to pension schemes or any other form of statutory deduction is the money that has already gone out and has been approved by the COP. Just like retention money, and that is why I was saying this contractors' money. So when you go and employ it back, either through reallocation or that movement, then it is already unprocedural and illegal. So you cannot budget again, Governor, for something that has already been approved by COP. It's already there.
And then again, reallocations can happen in certain circumstances, but there is a procedure. There are some approvals that must be obtained. for reallocations. I think we have dealt with some here. You recall, members, the 5 million that was diverted in Vihiga to a housewarming. And I think there was some 10 million that was diverted in Embu to a different exercise. There must be some approvals and some procedures. So, Governor, please tell us, where is this 62 million? Because all these explanations have not addressed the 62 million. It has been requisitioned. The control of budget has approved. The money has come to the county. You are paid less than 62 million, but it is not in the bank account. It is not in the financial statements. Before we conclude that this was stolen, are you able to explain to us with detailed evidence where the 62 million is? Because there's been a lot of prose, a lot of speculation of what may have happened. Let's focus on the 62 million. Do you have a register for retentions and deposits? And even if you have that register totaling to 62 million, where is the cash? That money has already been released by the control of budget. Where is it?
I quite agree with you, because I'm remembering what the treasurer was saying, that you get, if it's a tender for 10 million, you're given the 10 million by the control of budget, then you pay the 90%, the 10% is retained.
It's retained.
So you're given all that money. Unless now you're saying the 10% was really misappropriated. Thank you.
So the money comes. The money comes. They have the money. So the controller will not even accept a fresh requisition for it. So, Governor, where is 62 million owed to suppliers? Let's just now address ourselves to that. Let's not hypothesize that it could be there, it could be there. Let us know, where is this 62 million as retained by the entity? It is not in the bank account. It is not reported.
The car came in to liberate me. It did. It did. Very recently when
The control of budget has approved positions, out of which 62 million is supposed to pay service provider, and it is not in the bank. Whose pocket is it in?
Through the Governor Chair. Yes, when the control of budget approves the requisition, it's 100%. But at the point of payment at central bank, there'll be payment that goes straight to carrier. There'll be another payment that goes to the contractor, possibly NITA or any other deduction relating to that payment. And then the other payment should be a payment that goes straight to the retention account, which in our case, that is the one that is missing. It then means that no money moves from our CRF to the retention account, simply because of the reason that I mentioned of the mapping. A good example, Chair, is that recently we needed to pay a retention amount of about 27 million. We made a requisition, but we encountered a challenge where it still wanted to deduct taxes afresh. Yet we know in the original contract, as you rightfully put, is that taxes and all those other deductions that we made. So that is the challenge we're grappling with. Now, what that means is that the 10% remains unpaid out. It's not that it was wired anywhere.
Where does it go to?
It still remains in the CRF. And since we are making payments, for example, when we receive 500 million, the payments out of CRF will be equivalent to 500 million. Yet in actual sense, assuming we're paying contractors, we should be paying out 450 million and 50 million to the retention. So since the leg of the retention account is missing, as a cash flow management issue, then we end up using everything. But as Governor mentioned, is that for any contractor now who needs to be paid their retention, we have to sort out at the supplementary level. And in this case, the payment is through the COBS, but waiving the deductions because already that processing had been done at the initial level when we did the requisition. So it is a direct payment to transfer our money from our budget to the retention account, noting that we had already met. So that will sort the problem going forward of the historical issues. But then going forward, it then means with the cash flow stabilizing, we'll be able to do that in real time.
See, you can be a good teacher, but a poor problem solver. Where is this 62 million?
It's lying in the CRF. Whatever money that is left in the CRF is to account for all the unpaid claims.
Why did the PFM require you to establish deposits and retentions account?
Yeah, and why did you transfer that money? Because this is just unique for Nandi.
Yeah.
Other counties would have that retention account, but then borrow it and use it for something else and return it. But for you, with the officers, there's a challenge of transferring that 10% to that special purpose account. What is the challenge?
Remember, it's not optional. Your neighboring county of Kericho, part of the charges when the governor was brought to the Senate on impeachment, which we did not consider because it terminated on preliminaries, was misuse of retention and deposits account. It's something significant that it can lead to the impeachment of a governor. And yet the governor is not involved in the day-to-day. It's these officers. No. So, Governor, if you're going to accept this kind of stories, then one day, God forbid, your MCAs come for you for misuse of deposits and retentions, as happened in Kericho, you'll find yourself asking yourself why you didn't ask these questions earlier. There's a reason why that account must be established, and that requirement is in statute and in regulation. It cannot be optional. You can't have your own version of the PFM.
Yeah, and I've had the explanation, Governor. You see, it doesn't matter because, let me repeat it again. Retention money is like debt reduction. It is approved by COP. It is money that should be in account. Chair, there is no other explanation. If the governor cannot tell us where 62 million is, then it was eaten, Chair. Because if he cannot pinpoint and say, and the explanation of CCM is explicit, but we are just wondering where is the cash. If a chair he can point us and say this is the retention account that has 62 million, just the way he was arguing on the employee cost payables, Governor, you say it is nil, but you agree with us that it could not be nil. So the position is very simple. We want to see this 62. And the chair, I've gone through the CRF, what the governor, and I thought the governor would have redacted this statement that he said it is in CRF account. Because, Governor, looking at the financial statement of CRF account, there is nowhere that it indicates that there is where this can be traced to 62 million. Chair, I think you just make a ruling, then we can proceed.
Maybe just to, as you respond, Governor, your officer said that you initially operated a commercial bank account for retentions, and then you advised to open a central bank account. That's a position. And you're saying that sometimes the auto allocation at the point of payment does not work because of the account. Why? And yet here the auditor says that the executive operated deposits and retention bank account at the Central Bank of Kenya with nil balance. So you have the account at Central Bank. So why would you tell us that tax can go, SHA can go, but retentions cannot go? That you don't have an account, and here the auditor confirms you have an account.
Yes, Chair. Yes, we opened the account recently with CBK. So what we're dealing with is just the mapping issues at IFMIS level, so that then it goes just the way SHA goes. And
recently is when?
Confirm
this year.
Yes,
this month of July.
Within this financial year, I'll confirm exactly.
No, but this was established in the last financial year. So you see, it disqualifies the long arguments that you made, that the money will not go to retentions because of lack of a bank account, and then it goes to general CRF. Please help us also, give us explanations that can help us understand the process, because you're the technician. Yes. But if you're going to mislead us, I think the governor knows the consequences of giving misleading information to Parliament.
Yeah, it is recently. Is it in the financial year 25-26? Because you're dealing with the financial year 24-25. So when is recent?
Recent, Chair, is towards the end of 24-25 financial year. That's about, give it June, thereabouts.
I think we are being too casual. Governor, we are being too casual on numbers. I wish you could have some sense of seriousness about this, because if you would have asked me to give you time to go and compile your retentions register and to reconcile payments that have been made and to go back and ensure that your account is funded, that would be a better position. But if you try to explain, giving us stories that make no sense, then I think we are taking the Senate casual.
Chair, through the governor, is that whereas in the past we've not been able to make these retentions because of the cash flow issues we've said, our undertaking is that now that we have the retention account, beyond the 62 million, we'll be able then to compute all the amounts that are due for retention in terms of, because we only retain for contracts above 5 million, then we're able to file and make a provision in the budget so that the entire amount is swept, because the position is that we only paid out 90%, the other 10% went into other payments, as it were, in terms of it is money in the account, so you end up paying next contractor, you pay an extra contractor instead of. So
you have not even demonstrated a single contractor who has been paid the 90%. Paying 90% is not a problem. Our concern is that money ring-fenced for its intended purpose. And ring-fencing it means that you've got a certificate from the bank that the 62 million is in there. Whether you pay 90% is neither here nor there, because you can hold that money for 3 years. There's nothing wrong. It's a supplier who should file, isn't it? If the contractor does not file, then you can't pay. So that's not our problem. Whether you paid 90% or 80% or whether you've paid nothing, that's a different problem. Here you have deducted, but the money cannot be traced. That is a problem that we need to address ourselves to. And traceability of the money.
And in which we're dealing with 24-25 financial year. So most of the contractors have completed their defect liability period. So are you paying them after the lapse of that period? From which budget are you paying them in the 25-26 financial year?
Well, thank you. Through the governor, is that, well, we are lucky that most of our projects are really small projects, 2 million, 4 million, 3 million, which we don't retain. So oftentimes that is 100%. The few projects that then go above or the amount at which we retain, especially the flagship projects, you find they're either still ongoing, or the few that are complete is where now on need basis, or as and when the contractor files the claim, we're now able to now look around and try and get the money. So,
and which are they? Which are those?
The projects?
Because there's no register even for retentions here.
Well, we have that, Chair, we could provide. An example is we did our hospital. The contractor has now filed with us retention.
Do you know the contractors you owe retention? Do you know that?
Yes, we know.
Do you know them?
Yes. We have a list of.
Where is that schedule?
We don't have the list of the retention here because it was part of
that was one way of solving this matter.
Yeah.
To demonstrate that yes, you know the people you owe 62 million.
Yeah.
So even if their money is in CRF, but you know. But you have come with nothing.
Actually, Chair, my reading of this query is that the auditors found from that supporting schedule of 62 million for the people who are owed the deposits. But then the money is not there. I think that schedule must be there. It's there.
Yes, Chair, the schedule is there. We know who owes us. It's only the money.
So how do we conclude about the money? The 62 million? Because if it's in CRF, then it means it will be subjected to another budget cycle, and yet the money had already been approved for release.
And maybe, Chair, I'm trying to get an explanation of CCM. It already says there is an established account towards the end of financial year 24-25. And the issue of cash flows is not an issue. The point I'm trying to make is that we have agreed that this money was budgeted, approved, and released by the COB. So the question, the fact that they can pay does not mean where these 62 million are in cash. And I've seen in note number 21A in your financial statements on the executive governor, I cannot see, I have seen you have a number of accounts that you have opened with Central Bank or CBK, but it's not indicative of where 62 million is. Chair, to me, this money cannot be traced. Because long and short, and the chief officer or finance, and the one on the retention and deposit register, which I don't know. OAG, did you see the retention and deposits register in the course of your audit anywhere through the chair? Sorry. Through the chair.
OAG.
Thank you, Chair. The amount in this query, number 2, was based on extracts from payments that were made towards the end of the financial year, before the expiry of the defects liability period. So this amount is based on the payments, not a specific schedule prepared by the county. Thank you, Chair.
Now, members, we probably need to make progress and go into the other significant matters that have been raised there, but we need to get out of this issue of inaccuracies of the financial statements. And Governor, I think this long conversation has indicated that on the face of it, your financial statements are inaccurate. They do not provide a true and fair picture of the organization. We have looked at trade payables. We have seen that there was a significant non-disclosure of opening balances, 278 million by your own account. But you have further put it on record that you are aging. You accept that it might not be accurate due to the manual nature of your computations. You have failed to disclose staff payables. You have failed to disclose your deposits, prepayments, and retentions. You have failed to provide the bank certificates to show where the 62 million is. There is serious inaccuracies, there's serious misstatement of your financial statements. The CPAs who prepared these financial statements, CPA Makto and CPA Priska Jepchirchir, is there any reason why we should not refer you to the professional body for disciplinary action for the inaccuracies and misstatements that have...
Slay Queen, unataka kublu? Get these premium wigs na makeup tools kali za kukuweka on point. Look fiti, bei ni ya mwananchi. Order side.
The other conclusions on the numbers.
Chair, so as you rule, I thought you, as the two lady and gentlemen explained their position, this inconsistency has created us not clarity on variation of 278 million. The initial one, the clarity on the pending bills, that is loan outstanding trade and payables, that the governor was trying to explain was 782,535,628 shillings, and also now 62 million that was supposed to be meant for retention and deposits, 967,159. Chair, cumulatively, this one comes close to 1 billion plus. So you might also want to rule on that issue of that variance, that the materiality and the net effect, in as much as the inaccuracies of financial statements. Chair, I yield back.
Okay, let's dispense the professional responsibility, because we sometimes want to fry the governor, who is an advocate, I believe, in good standing on financial reporting issues, which are done by experts who are members of a profession. So the two CPAs, are they in the room? CPA To and CPA Jepchirchir? Yes? You have followed the conversation, you prepared this financial statement, it contains significant inaccuracies, significant misstatements. Why should we not report you to the professional body for sanction? Why should we not make a conclusion that you are unfit to hold public office? Because that is an option that is available to us under the Public Audit Act. We do not want to condemn you unheard. That's CPA To. Yeah, proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, through the Governor. Usually, when there is an error in the financial statement, preparation of the financial statement, the law allows a time frame for the amendment. And now we have indicated that in this year, the financial year 25-26 financial statement will make adjustment in regard to the 278 million, which was omitted at the beginning of the year.
Is it your view that those are material misstatements and material inaccuracies?
Yes, they are material, sir.
Yeah, because what you're saying casually is for things that are not material. If you make a material misstatement and then you go ahead and sign that the financial statements present a true and fair view of the enterprise, then what you're saying cannot be of use. So if that's all you've got to say, it's okay. We will ask ISPAC to look at the matter. CPA Jepchirchir.
Thank you, Chair. In addition to what Mark has said, we've taken corrective measures to address errors that occurred in the financial year.
What has he said?
I think speak for yourself, because you don't share an ISPAC number. Everyone has their own ISPAC number.
Okay. Thank you. On the issue on retention deposits and account, we've taken I've personally taken corrective measure to ensure that the account is well mapped, and in the current financial year ending 30th June 2026, we've been able to wire deposits as and when we requisition for projects that are due to be retained, and the auditors will be able to verify this.
So that's in mitigation, but you agree that there were serious misstatements and inaccuracies in the financial statements?
Sure. On retention, it was a challenge of us moving from the commercial account to the CBK account, which gave us a challenge of mapping, but we were able to be assisted by National Treasury, and our account is now active and well able to take care of retentions.
Well, it's like stealing my bicycle and returning it. I don't know whether the law will let you off. The theft must be dealt with. Returning it is at another level. So, members...
Chair, maybe the two officers saw in this, because these are basic errors. So, the governor take administrative action, or you order their retraining? Because I remember in the last, we had an argument, and the head of supply chain then and Mark, so we had similar issues that were reappearing on the signing of financial statements. And if it points, and Chair, and you know, Nandi, where I come from, and like your place, I know where you come from. When you throw a stone, you could hit a professor. We are fairly doing very well. So my only concern is Priska and Mark saying, do they have challenges of capacity? Because I know the problem, Chair, and Governor will agree with me, is most of these things are prepared by junior accountants. Because the lady and gentleman are wadosi. They just come and sign and go away. They don't go through the financial statements. So, in other words, CEO of Finance and Mark, are you saying you need retraining, the capacity, the ability of the department to be able to generate the true and accurate position of the entity in terms of financial statements, Chair? Because if I was to become the governor, God willing, these are things you take very firm position, because I wouldn't want to be brought here for impeachment because an officer somewhere committed an error somewhere.
Yeah, I think you make a fair statement, even though the fact that someone is an ISPAC member, I do not think that is someone who still requires training on how to render financial statements. Unless the standards have been lowered at the Institute of Certified Public Accountants.
Chair, it's like our profession that when I do a plaint, a basic, and Senator Dulo will understand, and the governor, if I fail to do, for example, to draft and draw an affidavit, you know, that's a basic error for any law student in year one. So, unless the refresher, maybe, you don't know, or retooling, I don't know. Thank you, Chair.
I think we'll make our recommendations. It is for the governor to make his own judgment to find out whether he has the right players in his team. And I don't know, from his body language, he seems to be quite comfortable with these people and the long stories that they're telling the Senate. At the end of the day, it is between you and the people of Nandi. But for us, we must insist that things that are required by law must be done. Retentions, deposits, if you deduct, they must be provided for. It does not matter whether you are doing it from tomorrow. That money must be found. In fact, I think this is an area, these are some of the investigation areas that ESCC has been very useful on in this committee. 278 million in terms of pending bills, they cannot just come from the air. there must be continuity between closing and opening balances. So all the explanations that have been put here have not given us that assurance. And Governor, I believe if you are sitting where I'm sitting, you would probably have a similar perspective. I just wonder what usually happens when our colleagues sit on that side. Sometimes the perspective changes a bit. But it is upon you to take administrative action. It is upon us to specify professional action that should be taken, and also criminal action or investigations that EACC must undertake. Reverend, you wanted to say something in closing?
Chair, I was just wondering whether my colleagues are in good standing in their professional body. Maybe we can confirm that.
Yeah, I think we had done a check. They are in good standing, and that is why now we need to ask ISPAC whether they lowered their standards. I think people must now start taking responsibility, and we are moving beyond just blaming the governor for everything. If there's a professional in the enterprise, he must take responsibility. See, you responded to most of the financial matters. Are you also a member of ISPAC? With an ISPAC number?
Yes.
What's your membership number?
9500.
Lux, please put it on record so that we can also, because if you're a member of ISPAC, I know the law does not require you to be an ISPAC member if you're a...
And while we climb this mountain, I want to tell you guys about Shopify, a platform that makes starting a business incredibly easy. Shopify helped me turn my YouTube channel into a business, and they can do it for whatever you're passionate about, like climbing mountains. Whew. If you've ever bought my merch or Feastables, you've used it. I'm forever grateful for them because I've been using them since we had 3 million subscribers. Shopify powers businesses in 175 countries. Starting a business can be scary, kind of like climbing this mountain. But entrepreneurship allows you to wake up every
profession, even if you are an advocate, you are a supply chain, you are in any professional body, when you commit an error, we don't take it only on the governor. They even human resource, they must be held accountable. And this should be a lesson. I know in the last engagement with Nandi, we had not taken this position as a county where we go individually for a specific profession outside the accountability being held against the governor. So I think members of staff who normally come with the governor should note that despite that the governor will be held accountable after taking the oath and tabling the management responses, the individual professions must be held accountable. And I hope it will bring sanity among our counties and also bring seriousness in terms of accounting in our entities.
Thank you, Senator, for that emphasis. Unless, Governor, you have something to say, we will move to issues of HR. In HR, in the prior year, there were 14 audit issues that were raised, and we will come to prior year issues to confirm whether they've been addressed. But let's deal with what was reported in this financial year. The numbers, variances in amounts between payroll and employee costs. Auditor General, please read your finding.
Thank you, Chair. The statement of financial performance reflects employee costs amount of Kenya shillings 3,372,701,751,000 as disclosed in Note 9 to the financial statements. However, recasting of payroll records revealed total employee cost of Kenya shillings 2,803,070,772 Kenya shillings, resulting to a reconciled variance of Kenya shillings 539,630,979 shillings. In the circumstances, the accuracy and completeness of employees' cost amount of Kenya shillings 3,372,701,751 Kenya shillings could not be confirmed. Thank you, Chair.
Governor, you may respond.
During the financial year 2023-2024 financial year, the county experienced delays in settling the month of June gross salary and associated statutory staff deductions for the month of May due to the late release of the June exchequer disbursements by the National Treasury. Consequently, these obligations were settled in the beginning of the financial year 24-25 financial year as an expense.
Is there any record to support that response, Governor? Because the auditor says there is an unreconciled variance of 539 million. I thought to respond to this, you would say what you have said and then provide an annexure that confirms that amount. It should have been very straightforward. We have a reason that sounds plausible, but we have no evidence to back it up. Governor, or auditor, were you provided with any documentary evidence to resolve that?
Thank you, Chair. We have not been provided with a document to support the response. Thank you.
Okay, Governor. Because what this means is that you have overstated your employee expense. And we all live in Kenya, so we know that perhaps there have been issues around payroll in Nandi. So you cannot leave a matter like this undefended. Because otherwise people will say that you are paying salaries because what? So do we have any schedule to support your response?
Chair, we do not have the schedule that we can provide.
Secondly, what then was the true cost of employees for that year? For the financial year, what was the true cost? Because it determines a lot of things, including your fiscal responsibility indices.
The true employee cost was 2.8, 2,833,700, and the one that is indicated 2.8 billion.
Chair, if you look at note number 9 on employees of costs, and Chair, I'm not in a very good mood today. You know, Brazil lost yesterday to Norway. So, Chair, I wish the day would have been better. Because my brother and friend governor, you were not ready, or the people are letting you down, because basically you should have asked where is an attachment to show this movement. Because even in the previous argument you had given, you had not even indicated that you are paying a pension scheme. But I can see here you have paid 32 million in pension and other social contribution, 32,500,000 and 261. You have paid compulsory national security schemes at 10,399,000. Other personnel gratuity on contract 1 million. It comes to 3,372,701 shillings, 701,751. So now you are, so this is the financial statement of this year under review. So when you tell us about the true actual cost of 2 billion plus what you are indicated on record, where is it? Because, Chair, I agree with you. If you want to know how Nandi looks like, you don't need to know Cherarghe or governor. You need to look at the financial statements. It should speak to itself. So, Chair, where does the governor get this true actual spending on? And I'm of course, I'm aware there were issues with the payroll, and it is matter that is under investigation by the EACC. But the true actual cost, this variance of 539,630,971. And when, sorry for taking long, when you go to basic wages of temporary employees, you are paying 26,228,750 as per note number 9 in your financial statement. Even if you look at the audit query which come later, Chair, you can see, I think it was, sorry, just give me a minute so that I tie up my argument, Chair. When you look at audit number 6 on the reduction of employees and the spending the actual total cost. And even when you look at, Chair, sorry for, I wanted to tie up, or even that were paid outside human resource integrated system. In the report, Governor, you paid through manual 85,202,776, and you paid casual payroll outside the human resource integrated system 70,338,749. This is huge amount, and therefore, when you come at variance of 539,630,979 Kenya shillings, Chair, then the governor should assuade us not to believe that they were post workers that were paid. That is why they could not trace 539 million. So can the governor assuade us not to believe that the payment outside the human resource integrated system of casual and temporary employees as disclosed under note number 9, can he rest that so that it becomes easy to proceed? I yield back the mic, Chair.
Okay, Senator Maruma, so that you can answer jointly.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Governor, when I look at the query, you stated that the employee cost was 3.3 billion, but then upon recasting, the total employee cost came down to 2.8 billion. And in your explanation, you are saying that it's because there was late exchequer release, and so of the previous year, and so the payment for the employees was made in that particular year, so it hiked the employee costs. But I thought if there is late exchequer release, then that figure should appear as an employee payable. It should appear as a pending bill. Why should it appear here as a real cost to be paid for that particular year? I thought it should be a pending bill. And then again, I agree with the chair that where is the schedule? The evidence showing that employees were not paid in that particular year or the previous year and they were paid in that particular year. Hence that variance. So I think that needs to be explained better.
Governor?
Through the Governor Chair, the 539 million is actually for 23-24. It's a figure for the previous year, not the year under audit.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
It is for 23-24.
Yes.
In 24-25, it should have appeared as a pending bill. Because the pending bills would be more because there was late exchequer release. And then you have to demonstrate that because of the late exchequer release, the pending bills were high, but then these were the people who didn't pay, and now we have paid. And so that deals with that variance of 539 million.
Shushe, even if you look, see before you respond, even Chair, if you look at note number 32, as you have said, if it was an expense that was carried over, even in employees payables, it is still nil. So if you were reflected in your financial statement, note number 32, we would have seen that movement. It would have been easy.
Yeah, it should have been maybe as an opening balance because it was subsequently clear. Auditor General, if this related to salaries for prior year, should it have been reflected as an opening balance?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it should, under note that too. But then, because the county has